And then 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Matt Talk About That. Why is it Chris first? Why isn't it Matt and Chris talk about that?
Alphabetical. Also, I'm older than you are.
Sure.
I'm first in both of the ways that usually matter.
Yes. You are older.
So.
You're like, what, 10 or 20 years older than me, right? You're in your 50s, right?
Only in maturity and income. So.
Well, we're back.
Yeah.
We're back to here, and today we're talking about Deep Space Nine again. This time we're doing the pilot episode, the first episode, season 1, technically the first 2 episodes, Emissary, even though these aired at the same time.
I think it's funny that they call it 2 episodes because there's not a break. There's not a break in it. It's more like a TV movie than it is an episode. I don't know where you would cut it like if you were syndicating it.
And yeah, there's no way you could not air these together. And it just makes, for anyone that does like their own digital filing of TV episodes, it can be such a nightmare the way episodes are numbered. And yeah. Anyways, episode 1 through 2, title is Emissary. The story is Rick Berman and Michael Piller. The script is by Michael Piller. Michael Piller was the showrunner for Star Trek The Next Generation from season 3 till the end in season 7.
He's the reason why it's so good.
Yes, Rick Berman's the executive producer, took over after Gene Roddenberry. Michael Piller was the showrunner for the first couple seasons of DS9. I meant to look into this and I forgot. Do you know when Michael Piller died? Because he died young, right?
Well, fortunately, I'm in front of the collected knowledge of mankind, so...
I should have looked this up. I'm wondering, did he die before DS9 ended?
He died after it ended.
Okay, so
November 1st, 2005.
I gotcha. So he...
Head and neck cancer. Ooh, that's an awful way to go.
So
That's rough.
I think, was tired of doing Star Trek. I mean, running a TV show, I can't even imagine. Especially one where you have hour-long episodes and you're doing like over 20 a season, which is nowadays would be absurd.
Yeah, it's too bad it is absurd because, man, I miss seasons that were longer than 8 episodes.
Yeah, this is true. So, directed by David Carson. I was going to ask, should we mention the directors like the directors in TV shows like this are so unimportant. Like once the style is set,
I think that the only reason to mention director in a TV show is if there's something specific about either the direction that stands out or if it's someone we know, like if it was a Jonathan Frakes episode or something, right. Because it's like, hey, Riker directed this one. And you can usually tell because Thomas Riker's in it. So
So for those that don't know, like when you have especially back in the day when you had syndicated TV, they had ways. It's like, okay, if we shoot a scene with Picard in his office, the camera goes here. And if you bring a new director in, they're not allowed to change that. In this kind of scene where Picard's in his office, the camera goes here. It doesn't matter what you want to do or how you want to tell it. This is the styling of the show. So this is why I'm saying I don't know if the directors are really even that important. Sorry to all.
Yeah, today it's different because you can definitely tell when a different writer and director are doing an episode of TV because it doesn't always change like in the middle of a season, but it will change drastically, like the tone and how the camera moves, and it's kind of off-putting. And I understand why they held everything under such tight control back in the 90s in the golden age of humanity.
No, I agree. It does limit your creativity, but it's also the show is supposed to have an aesthetic that goes from episode to episode. You know, you're not making your own movie when you're directing a TV show.
Yeah, that's true.
So the versions we watched are AI upscaled by a group called DS9 Redefined. I talked about that in the last episode. They are nowhere near the TNG quality of the ones that were scanned from the film, I know online there is a clip where they did scan one scene of DS9 from film. I think from like season 6 or something, and it looks phenomenal. It's a shame that we need some like Star Trek fan billionaire to just pay for the rescanning and re-editing out of all the special effects for DS9. But
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the people that make it to the billionaire status miss the point of Star Trek sometimes.
yeah, yes, this is facts. So they are definitely better than the DVD versions, but
yeah, I mostly watched it just the DVD quality stuff, like on back in the olden days when it was on Netflix, and then Paramount isn't any better. So seeing these upscale, I'm like, wow, everything's so crisp and clear.
Yeah.
This looks great. I love this.
So a few bits of trivia on this episode, which is our pilot episode. And we kind of talked about in episode 0, kind of bit of background and how this steals a little bit, or we'll say inspired by Babylon 5. But some other trivia I found online. Terry Farrell, who plays Jadzia Dax, was cast so late that they had already started filming the pilot when she was hired. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That makes a lot of sense because she kind of stands out in this episode. Almost like when she shows up, it's like she doesn't mesh. And when you know the rest of the show, Jadzia Dax in the first episode is not the same Jadzia Dax as you get in later seasons. Her character is different.
The funniest,
and the way she's
the funniest. Sorry, you bring up that example. The funniest is Nog, who is like evil in this episode, and then the next time you see him, he's a bubbling moron. Just complete character change.
No, you're not thinking
Nog,
of Nog. You're thinking of Rom.
Rom
does not even have a name. Right. He is Dabo Table, like number 3. Max Gridenchek. I've met him. He's a nice guy. But Max Gridenchek is just running a Dabo Table and is not a character yet.
Next bit, Mark Alamo, who is tremendous at Gul Dukat, who we meet in this episode, was in 4 different episodes in TNG, playing 4 different characters, including...
One of them had a beard, which is weird on a Cardassian.
Yes. So he plays an Antikin in season 1, which I kind of recognize the alien when I saw a picture of it. It looks like a cat, kind of. Plays a Romulan, a human card shark in the 19th century, and Time's Arrow.
Yep.
And he is actually the very first Cardassian we ever see, Gul Maset. And as Chris said, he has facial hair, which I don't think we ever see a Cardassian have facial hair again.
It's kind of weird that they have hair at all because they're lizard people.
Right.
But, I mean, whatever.
I thought the Cardassians were interesting right off the bat. Like, TNG totally flopped with the Ferengi. I thought they nailed the Cardassians the first time they showed them.
Yeah, they're a very interesting antagonist species.
Yes.
And I love how much in Deep Space Nine we get to learn about them.
I can tell that. Were the Cardassians written with the idea that they would be the antagonist for this other show? Because they come pretty late in TNG. Or was it that the Cardassians were so interesting, they're like, okay, these are going to be the Klingons of this show?
I think it's the latter because Deep Space Nine didn't show up until season 6 of TNG, right?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
93? Season 6, yeah, because season 4 was 94. So the first time we see the Cardassians is in The Wounded, I believe, right?
That's a
season 4 episode,
right?
Yeah, it's a season 4 episode. The Wounded was just so good that they're like, we need to take these guys and make them an antagonist species, and also this guy that suffered in this episode, we got to continue to make him suffer because, and let's be honest, Cole Meany is awesome. He really is a great actor.
So good.
Yeah.
But if anyone hasn't seen The Wounded, go watch that episode. It's one of the best TNG episodes.
We're going to be careful. We're going to be talking about TNG as much as we talk about Deep Space Nine.
So
it's kind of hard not to because you've got crossover characters and they're set basically at the same time.
This episode especially, we're going to be talking about TNG a bit. And that was on purpose by Paramount. Oh, that's my last one of my points here. I'll get to that in a second. So Alexander Siddig, who plays Bashir, how old do you think he is in this episode?
I want to say he's either very late 20s or early 30s. He's pretty young.
He's 26 years old.
Okay.
26. Absurd.
Yeah, he's a baby.
The Promenade is one of the largest and most expensive sets ever made for television. So, is Deep Space Nine the space station that the Enterprise built? Because this show is riding off the wave of TNG. And it's funny to me that this show got, like, at the start, kind of a bigger budget than TNG had.
Well, it had to. So because it's a spin-off series, they're doing something different, and the studio's like, this has to work. This has to work. So they're going to dump all the money into it. And you see that in TNG, towards the end of season 6 and season 7, the production quality and the writing quality goes down because all hands were on deck for Deep Space Nine. I'm not saying TNG is bad in those seasons, but it's not as good as 4 and 5, right?
Real quickly, like, in my mind, for the longest time, I'd always thought, like, oh, TNG, like, the timeline was like, oh, TNG had one season crossover with DS9, and then TNG ended, and then Voyager had one season crossover with DS9, and then DS9 ended. That's not it. It's like DS9 had 2 seasons while TNG was still going, and TNG and Voyager were on most of the time at the same time, which... Man, the 90s was such a great time to be a Star Trek fan.
Not TNG. When did Voyager didn't come out till 95? Voyager was after TNG ended.
Correct. I'm saying...
but Voyager came out
DS9
like
and TNG
mid DS9 run.
Had 2 seasons
ran
of
at the same
crossover.
time.
Yeah, and most of DS9 and most of Voyager, they kind of ran concurrently for the most part. Maybe, I think, did Voyager have maybe 1 or 2 seasons after DS9 ended?
I think 2 seasons. I think Voyager season 6 and 7 are both post DS9, which honestly is where Voyager gets really good. I have been watching Voyager again just because I can't watch Deep Space Nine because I want to watch more Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
But we're watching Deep Space Nine one episode at a time.
Yeah.
It's going to take 5 flipping years to do this.
That is a hard thing. So Cisco's ship at Wolf 359, the Saratoga, is one of Chris's favorite ships. The Reliant from Star Trek II. They've redressed it a little bit. I think they took the top. It's literally
Miranda class.
It's literally the Reliant, though. Is it the
actual filming model? Oh, nice.
And they changed it a little bit. The Vulcan captain who dies in the Saratoga is played by J.G. Hertzler, who would go on to play
I noticed that right away.
the Klingon General Martok.
He plays a lot of Star Trek characters.
The computer
Hertzler does.
on the space station is not played by Majel Barrett, but instead by a woman named Judy Durand, and is meant to sound more curt.
She does.
Not so nice as the Enterprise computer. And then something we talked about for a second. Paramount demanded that Picard appear in the first episode. Paramount was very reticent about the fact that this was a space station, that the themes were going to be so different right off the bat. And they were like, if we're going to get these TNG fans to watch this, you have to put Picard in the first episode. It was a good choice. I think it was an excellent choice.
It could have gone very badly, but they did it perfectly.
Picard,
I don't know if we want to talk about that scene.
We'll get to that in a bit, because Picard represents something that if he wasn't in this episode, it would not work as well. You want to give your brief overall thoughts on the episode?
Easily the best pilot episode of Star Trek ever made.
That's what I have written right here. This is the best Star Trek pilot episode.
I remember liking it when I first, because I saw it when I was a kid. I saw it. I watched it live. I have seen it a couple times since then and watching it again because it's been several years. I watch it. I'm like, my goodness, this is good. This is just very, very good. And unlike every other Star Trek episode, it just it comes out swinging.
Yes.
Right? Like that pilot, it's not like we're on the Enterprise and this is slowly getting up to speed, or hey, we're getting all the crew together. It's thousands of people are dying.
And the plot matters for what is coming. So like Encounter at Farpoint, which is the pilot for Star Trek The Next Generation. I mean,
which might be one of the worst pilots.
You might,
to be honest.
some people like that episode. The plot itself, the story, it introduces the characters. The plot itself is just another disconnected story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Emissary would make a good movie.
Yeah.
It would make a good movie.
You'd have to probably reduce the amount of characters that get time.
Yeah, for sure. But that 90 minutes would make a pretty decent movie that I think would do well. I mean, maybe not today because there's not enough. Well, we won't go there right now. But there's just not enough of what is popular today in it. But it's
I got you. I'm on your wavelength.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So the other thing I thought of is it never pretended to be anything other than contrasting with TNG. It's like, look, this is one side of Star Trek. We're the other side of Star Trek.
Yes.
And I make no apology for it, and I'm going to do it really well. Awesome. Cool. I'm here for it.
It sets a clear tone. And that's kind of why it's important to have Picard there and the Enterprise, because it very much sets a tone that, hey, this isn't just going to be more of the same with just a different crew. You're going to have a different theme and different tone here, which was a risk. It was a risk. So if we want to get into the episode itself.
Yes, meat and potatoes, por favor.
So I used Mr. AI to break this into 5 acts. Well, 5 plus the teaser. And I'll just go ahead and read the opening teaser here.
Sorry, I was talking to my kids.
No worries. We open with one of the most intense sequences in Star Trek history, the Battle of Wolf 359. Benjamin Sisko's ship is destroyed by the Borg, led by an assimilated Captain Picard, and his wife, Jennifer, is killed. 3 years later, a grieving Sisko and his son Jake are assigned to a remote, rundown outpost, Deep Space Nine. So this intro, the opening 4 minutes and 30 seconds, the teaser at Wolf 359, is so perfect to introduce a show to Star Trek fans. So the most popular Star Trek episode is Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2, which is the end of Season 3, the beginning of Season 4, which is the Borg episode. So automatically you're starting at action. Something people are familiar with. You're seeing that episode from a different angle. You're seeing the victims.
And you're seeing it in incredibly high production quality.
Yeah.
Compared to that episode. Like, that episode was done well, but my goodness, did they spend money on that sequence.
And there's some tone things set up here. So they set up, in my opinion, that external reality is a threat. So there's 2 types of science fiction. There is a science fiction that portrays that external reality is good, or that external reality is bad. So external reality is good. You want to think like Arrival. If you guys have ever seen that, Arrival is about aliens strangers.
They're non-linear aliens.
Trust strangers,
actually.
Basically. Strangers are good. We just have to come to an understanding. The other sci-fi where external reality is a threat. Think like Alien. The world is dangerous. Star Trek idealistically falls into the section of like Arrival. I think in reality, many of the episodes fall into the category of Alien. This show, right off the bat, I think falls more into the category of Alien, where we are exploring space, and this exploration is dangerous. So this exploration takes a Faustian bargain. So if you don't know the story of Faust, Faust is someone that essentially sold his soul to the devil to gain knowledge. The idea of the Faustian bargain is that to accomplish something great, you have to sacrifice something. So right off the bat in this episode, we're seeing that Sisko has made this bargain and he wants to go back on it. He doesn't like it's all fun and games until the Reaper comes and literally, in this case, takes his wife, and he wants out of the deal. And
so what I found interesting about this episode is, so in TNG, they talk about how there are families on board the Galaxy class ships.
Right.
He had his family aboard the Rattletrap Miranda class, which, like, if anyone in Starfleet knows if ship's going to get blown up, it's a Miranda class because there's a billion of them. They're expendable and they're always taking hits so the Enterprise doesn't explode. So,
we have to save the stars.
We have to save the stars, right? And
the main cast has to survive.
Exactly. So you have to throw the Miranda class in front of it. But we don't see a lot of civilian, like, children on ships that aren't the big ones. And that was interesting because I was like, whoa, because it kind of, to me, it explains like a little bit of why Sisko wanted to go back on everything. Because one, of course, his wife died. If any man loses his wife, that man is dead. Like, he's dead. He can come back, but he's mostly dead. And he endangered his child as well. And I think he's regretting the fact that he brought them along. And part of him, because Sisko at the beginning of this episode is like, I don't really want to be the commander of the space station. I think I might resign from Starfleet. And part of that is because of, we talk about he's got guilt and everything for that, but I think it doesn't exposit it, but I see it.
So part of what I think that's why that Picard scene is so powerful. Those two scenes, we actually see, and it's kind of rare, you actually see a full character arc in this episode for Sisko, because Sisko goes from wanting out of the bargain. This isn't worth it. The sacrifice is not worth it. I want out. They're putting me in an even more dangerous situation out on this frontier, and which a post I don't want. I did not ask for this post. I want out of this bargain. And he tells Picard, and that's a great scene, which we're kind of jumping ahead, but it's a great scene where, he expresses that this isn't worth it. And Picard's like, why are you in Starfleet then? And it's the tone is so different from most of Star Trek, really.
And Sisko's response is almost, I don't know why I'm in Starfleet.
Right.
Like, and that's yeah. It's like, wait, this is the guy? This is the guy you pick? All I can think of is the Q episode, I'm not Picard. And he is not.
And then by the end of the episode, he understands the juice is worth the squeeze. I know this is dangerous. I know I'm putting myself and others at risk, but to grasp something great, this bargain, this risk is worth it. So Act 1, and I'm kind of reading a synopsis. The synopsis is kind of skipping some scenes. It's just a brief synopsis of each act. So Act 1, Sisko arrives at the trashed, recently abandoned Cardassian station. We meet Major Kira, who doesn't want Starfleet there, and Chief O'Brien, who is trying to fix the mess. Sisko then has a famously tense, icy briefing with Captain Picard, where Sisko admits he might resign from Starfleet. So we get to see the DS9 set for the first time. It feels very alien to the Enterprise, I'm sure on purpose. The coloring is different. You get dark browns and the control panels are like a bluish green. Do you like the DS9 set?
I do like the set. It's it feels alien enough, but not so alien that I don't want to look at it.
That's a
because
good
I think
point.
in a lot of science fiction shows, when they try to make an alien set, it's like, oh, that doesn't, it's weird. Like an example I can think of is like Stargate. Some of the alien ships in that are so alien, it doesn't, like, how does this even work? But the Cardassians, you can see that they're alien, but their brains still work kind of like our brains do, and there's still an order to everything, and that oppressive, they feel at home in this kind of oppressive, weird architecture that would make humans feel uncomfortable, and they think it's great.
Thankfully,
and I think it's just alien enough.
Thankfully, in Star Trek, everyone evolves to be bipedal humanoids with 10 fingers and 10 toes.
They did have an episode as to why that happened.
That is true.
They did have an episode. We were all related.
A TNG episode.
Yes. TNG fixing everything.
I liked Kira in this episode. One thing that's very obvious is that it was supposed to be Ensign Ro from The Next Generation. She plays.
You think so?
That's just a fact of this show that it was supposed to be.
Oh, is it really?
It was supposed to be Ensign Ro, and the actress who plays Ensign Ro did not want to sign on to a long-term TV deal, which I kind of understand. It's TV deals, especially back then, they were really long contracts. So it's like, okay, you sign this deal. It's like, and if this show goes 7-8 years, you're like, or I think they probably sign like 3 years at a time or something like that. And you can't. Or
sometimes it was
else.
length of the show.
Priority. And it's not the highest. It's a good job. A lot of people like TV because it's a regular paying job, but it's not the highest paying job. But you're locked into that if you sign that contract. So.
And you're also talking, 12, 14-hour days shooting when you're shooting. It's a lot of work.
So you might be a
lot of work.
You might think like, oh, what was she crazy? Why would she not want to do it? But I mean, she's an actor. She's not just a Star Trek fan, She's just looking at it as a job. And
she, I can never remember her name, but she's actually a very good actress. I enjoy her.
I love the
in all the roles I've seen her in. And I like that Major Kira, even though she was supposed to be Ro, is a different person. She's got the same chip on her shoulder, but for different reasons. Right? And because Ro is angry because of stuff happening in the demilitarized zone. I'm sure she's angry about her homeworld being occupied by the Cardassians as well. Major Kira was a terrorist. She was literally fighting against the Cardassians her entire life. I think she says from the moment she could pick up a phaser, she was fighting Cardassians. So we're talking someone who's like a Mujahideen in the 80s. Like, that person is now the first officer of a Federation space station.
Right. She's literally Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
And I have the note on this later. She is incredibly competent. That's something I didn't really remember. And it makes sense why this provisional government would put her in charge. And she's written to be competent. And so I liked Kira. I know I talked about in the last episode that my kind of rough memory was not really liking her. I thought she was a good character in this.
She's a harsh character, but she's harsh in a good way. And I also, she's a great example of strong, competent women in science fiction, which is not as common as it should be, because science fiction is, it's usually made for dudes, and dudes are usually making it, and they just kind of don't think about it, right? It's not anything that they're doing on purpose. But Kira is a great example of someone strong and competent and got into her position because she's strong and competent and happens to be a woman, rather than I'm a woman and my name is Captain Michael, whatever it is, and I get everything I want because I am a woman and I'm the representation,
Captain Mary
right?
Sue.
Which I feel hurts the cause, right?
Captain Mary Sue. We talked about the Picard scene. It is great. It very much. It's kind of an odd feeling to me because it's like, especially if you've seen DS9, it's like here's Sisko on this other television program set, and he is different. He is not the same as Captain Picard. And the clash, everything about it is so good to me. And like I said, it is about him not wanting this Faustian bargain anymore, this risk, he doesn't want to take part anymore. And it's really not until he meets the prophets that he rededicates himself to it. And it shows it's a great expression of the trauma he's been through, that the simple things that every Starfleet officer, I think Picard in that scene is like almost befuddled, the fact that this guy is getting such a great command opportunity and he doesn't want it, and he's mad that he even got the job.
I want to talk about that scene a little bit from Picard's perspective, because it is a great examination of like how trauma affects people.
Oh, Picard's the opposite, right?
Yeah, but Picard doesn't get angry about trauma. He does, but in a different way. I don't know if First Contact counts. That's probably Irremotic syndrome. Everything past all good things is Irremotic syndrome. But with Picard, something I thought was really well done is, so it'd be easy because he outranks Sisko, right? And it'd be easy to write, like, just kind of slap him down a little bit. Slap him down. You're going to go do your job. And Picard doesn't really do that. He just kind of takes it. And like when Sisko's like, we've met once before at Wolf 359, he's so angry.
Yes. Such
and Picard
a great
goes,
dynamic.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh. And he doesn't say anything. He just lets it go by. And you can see on his face the brief, like, I hated that happened too, but I can't tell him I'm sorry. That's not going to help.
Well, it's the writing.
And I wasn't that person,
The fact that it's Picard is so perfect, because here's Sisko. He doesn't want to face this threat anymore. And here's the face of the threat itself that killed his wife.
Yeah,
He's in the same room.
Literally looking at his face, trying not to punch him. So you can see Avery Brooks. He did a great job of that physicality of, I want to punch this guy in the face. And Picard doesn't even stand up.
I mean, it's perfect. Picard is a personification of the external threats of reality for Sisko, and here he is having to confront it directly, and he doesn't want to. And it's such great writing. This, like I said, I think this pilot is so good. So we'll get to Act 2 here. Sisko begins assembling his crew. He meets the gruff security chief Odo and blackmails the Ferengi bartender Quark.
I want to go back real briefly on one thing that I did really like, how they did it. So when Kira and Sisko first meet, right, it's very confrontational, and Sisko is just like, I don't deserve this, and she's like, I suppose you're here to take the office. And he's like, I thought I'd say hello first and then take the office. He's like, I'm going to take the office either way. Yeah. I'm just trying to be polite about it. But later on in that same act there, that same part, she's clearing up the station, and Sisko is talking to her about something, and she's like, I thought, well, nobody else is clearing the station. So he just looks at her, or says, Starfleet types don't want to get their hands dirty. He just looks at her, holds eye contact while he picks up this piece of metal and chucks it in the dumpster. Like, I can get my hands dirty. I'm going to help fix it too. And that says a lot about Sisko's character. And it also shows Kira having her bluff and her bluster kind of called, and her going, okay, I can respect this man, without saying anything in words. And it's so good. It's so good. Anyway, continue. Act 2.
Act 2, I completely agree. Act 2, Cisco begins assembling his crew. He meets the gruff security chief Odo and blackmails the Ferengi bartender Quark into staying to act as a community anchor. Cisco then visits Bajor and meets Kaiopaka, who drops a spiritual bombshell. Cisco is the prophesied emissary, and she gives him a mysterious glowing orb to study. So first off, we meet Quark and Odo. I don't have much notes on Odo. He's kind of barely in this episode. They show his gimmick of melting.
But he's a changeling, yeah. But they don't really explain it. They don't explain it beyond, I was found in the Denorius belt, and they don't explain where he's from. They don't do anything other than here's an alien that can turn into gold goo and then turn into other things.
And he's the constable. He's the sheriff of the
frontier station.
Kind of makes almost no sense that the Cardassians had a changeling as the law enforcement officer, and the Federation decided to keep him as the chief law enforcement officer.
So it wasn't that. So he did work for the Cardassians, but he worked for the Cardassians under a Bajoran scientist, I'm pretty sure. And when the Cardassians left, they didn't want to take him with him. And so the Bajorans installed him as the constable before they invited the Federation over, I believe is how the sequence of events go. And so since someone is acting as the constable / security chief, then Starfleet doesn't need to provide Worf. I mean, someone else to run the tactical console. I mean, and his stuff is all internal as well. It's his job is to enforce stuff inside the station on the most part.
Right.
Not necessarily deal with anything external to the station.
Right.
Even though it changes a little bit as time goes on. Because Odo's not part of Starfleet. He's part of whatever the Bajoran militia is called. Because he's got one of those Bajoran symbols on him, like Kira does, and a bunch of the workers that are from the Bajoran side of things.
So we also meet Quark. So the Ferengi, I almost feel like they're like, one of the writers is like, my goal is going to be to fix the Ferengi because they're so bad in the Next Generation.
They really
and
are.
Immediately Quark is not a character. So he is not a hero. He is a pure materialist, and Cisco understands this, so he has to give him a material reason to stay. Cisco wants him to stay because he wants the station to be a
if there's nowhere to spend money, no one's going to stay to have businesses, right? So he wants to have somebody on the promenade to be a cornerstone of the promenade so that people stay, they reopen their shops, they have a life there.
Right.
Which is interesting because it implies that there are Bajoran shops as well as, some, we see like there's like a Klingon shop and other things, but it implies that there were Bajorans running shops on the station as well prior to Starfleet taking over, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't say it, but it seems like it because some of the people going to these shops, like they're all Bajorans, right? So I don't know. It was interesting, and it made me want to know more about that transition period.
That's one of my notes here. So there's dialogue between Cisco and Kira about the provisional Bajoran government. I really love political space opera, like political soap operas type stuff. One show I love is The Legend of the Galactic Heroes, this Japanese cartoon, which is like 120 episodes, which is like this great big political space soap opera. But
I tried to watch it. I hate reading subtitles.
This show doesn't really get into that much, and it's like you're talking about. It's like, what was the setup between the Cardassians and the Bajorans, like in this post-war?
Because they were there
era?
like strip mine materials from Bajor, from what I understand. They were just pulling. I don't remember what the mineral or metal was out of Bajor, but they were mining the planet.
Because you get the sense that like, oh, every Bajoran was in a concentration camp. I don't think that is true.
They weren't. I don't think that's true. I think there were a lot of them. I think the troublesome ones were put into concentration camps. I think that if you were a Bajoran, it's kind of like, the way I think of it is like if you look at, say like biblical times where the Romans like are in control of Jerusalem and all that. The Romans are in charge.
Right. That's a good
The
example.
Hebrews are allowed to do whatever the heck they want, unless a Roman's like, hey, you got to do something for me. And then they have to do it for, there are rules guiding it and everything. But they are definitely second-class citizens in their city, on their planet.
Right.
The Cardassians are the Romans. They're in charge. Even though the Romulans are the Romans, the Cardassians are the fascists.
Dude, that's such perfect timing that you said that, because this gets to my longest parts of the notes about this show. So the scene where Sisko meets with Kai Opaka,
I think.
Sisko's prophesized as the emissary, and he touches the orb, and
he ends up on the beach, right?
Briefly sees he relives the experience of meeting his wife for the first time. So to really understand Deep Space Nine and its themes, like any art, I think you need to understand the lens that the artist is seeing it through. So Rick Berman, Michael Piller, and Ira Stephen Beyer. Ira Stephen Beyer is a really interesting person. He was kind of the chief writer from the start on this show, and then eventually became the showrunner. All three of them have a Jewish background, and you see this expressed in the show, both in like an esoteric sense and just straight up it's kind of an expression of the post kind of World War II Jewish experience of like the 20th century. So the Bajorans are an obvious allegory for post World War II Jews. The Cardassians are German National Socialists, but it's also a reverse. Bajorans are also Palestinians. And this isn't just my like own interpretation. The writers have talked about this. So Bajorans are also like Palestinians, and the Cardassians are also like Israel. So it's
kind of about power dynamics rather than a specific, rather than these are specific people. They're supposed to be identified with an oppressed people or with the oppressors, right? And they are drawing from all of those to show this on screen.
In my view, that's
that resonance.
In my view, that's the primary allegory that this lens is being, the light's being shown through. And I think there is an esoteric level of it. If you guys don't know what esoteric means, it's a knowledge that most people don't understand and takes like research and studying to learn. It's often used in like a spiritual or like religious sense.
Sounds like sophistry to me.
Deep Space Nine has very clear kind of esoteric messaging with the Bajoran religious stuff, which becomes it's a huge part of the story at the beginning, a little bit towards the middle, and then a lot more towards the end.
They forgot about the Bajorans for a little bit while they were busy.
Yes.
With the show kind of forgot about Bajor.
So my view, esoteric stuff, it's hard to define. Not define. Define's not the right word. This is my view, and I've looked up and I've seen other people kind of have a similar interpretation. That's kind of the word I want to use, is that Bajorans are the Bajoran religion is based a little bit on Kabbalah. Kabbalah is like an esoteric understanding. How do I want to word this? Kabbalah is a sect of, it's like an esoteric studying of Jewish writings. So it's not the Jewish religion is not Kabbalah. It's sort of like saying like in Catholicism,
it's Jewish metaphysics, right? It's just metaphysics. It's trying to understand,
but through
the how
esotericism
rather than the why. Yeah.
And it's kind of like in Catholicism there's what's Gonzaga? There are sects of Catholicism. Anyways, that's not unimportant. So in Kabbalah, they call Yahweh Ein Sof, which is the descriptive name meaning infinite and unknowable. It's basically describing that God is like, or Yahweh to be specific, is something that exists beyond our comprehension in time and existence. This can be seen as the prophets. Because humans can't directly interact with Ein Sof, they have this thing called the Sephirot, which is the 10 ways in which Ein Sof channels itself to humans. This is stuff like kindness, reasoning, beauty, persistence. The 10th being Malkuth, which is physical reality itself. The Bajoran allegory are the orbs, tears of the prophets. These are the way the prophets channel themselves to us, or to the people of the physical universe, and they use these orbs as a way to gift wisdom. In the Bajoran religion, they have the Pog, which is the soul, which exists within the body while being separate from the body.
It's they pronounce it less like a Klingon. They don't really have the G. It's just a Pa.
Yeah, you're right, because it's the Pa Wraith. So Pa Wraiths are the evil ones. I'll get to that in a sec. So Pa, which is the soul in the Bajoran religion, it exists separate from the body, which is similar to the Hebrew concept of nefesh, that who you are is the soul. You are not simply just like your mind and body. Your soul exists separate from your mind and body, and who you are as a person is that soul. Later in the show, like I said, you have Pa Race, who are the false prophets, which channel the realm of evil. In Kabbalah, this would be referred to as the Qliphoth, which I'm sure I'm totally mispronouncing. You're really getting into the esoteric rabbit hole with this, but the Qliphoth is the mere opposite of the Sephiroth, which created the same time as the Sephiroth, which instead of having positive emanations has negative ones and gives rise to the realm of demons. Hyopaka touches Cisco's ear to communicate with his Pa. In the book of Leviticus, when priests are consecrated, the blood of the ram is placed on the earlobe, which represents dedicating what the priest hears to God. In Hebrew, you have the Shema, the daily prayer, which is a declaration that what you will listen to, it's a declaration that you will listen to God. Oh God, hear me, let me hear you. It's the primary way God communicates with us instead of vision. Kyle Paka says the Cardassians also seek esoteric knowledge, but only to destroy it. Cisco must act to seek it, but for the transcendence of his own Pa or soul.
I don't know. I didn't get that she was saying they were going to destroy it. They're trying to use it. They're trying to learn from it, research it.
She's literally, there's a line of dialogue where she says destroy it.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
So people might think I'm reading in too much. I think that in art or anything where we express ourselves, that we as humans kind of learn things in life through our experience, and the things we learn are repetitive images that have existed since civilization has existed. We're kind of getting into a deeper subject here, but if you draw a painting, it's not coming out of the ether. If you're following me, it's not like I'm going to draw a dog and it's just your mind invents something that has just absolutely never existed before. That doesn't really happen. You are recreating images that you have experienced, and so the things you see, the art that you see, are recreations of images that others have seen. So when you want to understand art, you kind of need to look at these images and try to see a common similarity or a common history that these might have come from. And so that's where you kind of get into the esoteric stuff. It's not something that can be strictly defined. It is up for interpretation. But that's kind of the fun thing about studying art, is that there is a subjectivity to it. To me, there's an objectivity to it, and there's a subjectivity to it. There's an objectivity to things having a aesthetic and a quality, because we as humans are all share similar aspects. But there is also subjectivity, because we as humans are also each different as individuals.
So I like Star Trek. I went way deeper than I was expecting it to. Like I don't often dig deeply into the whys behind how a show is built. I like understanding the allegories that are in shows. But to me, TV and movies, visual media is a container with which you deliver a story. It is storytelling. That is what this is for. So I always focus on the story, the characters, the plot, the lore too a little bit. I don't dig as much into the background trivia, which sounds weird from somebody who once won a trivia contest at a Star Trek convention, but my eyes may have glazed a little bit during that particular explanation there.
It's a way, if you want to really, I mean that stories are the way we communicate things to each other. I mean, all art is in a way telling a story. I mean, a painting, you can say, is telling a story.
There's no story there. It's just flashy explosions. Yeah.
The best,
except for Lower Decks. You got to watch Lower Decks, man. You got to do it.
But I mean, that's why, like in the Bible, the way lessons are taught are through stories. There's just something about stories that as humans, it's a better tool. So I think to really, if you want to have a deeper understanding of a story and the images, it can help to kind of understand the history of it. To me, at least, I think it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the reasons our conversations are usually so good, is because you dive into things that I don't think about. And then, I don't know, I sometimes randomly say things that make you think about other things, because this thing up here is, I'm pointing at my head for those of you who can't see, which is all of you. It's a mess. It's a mess. So
just to wrap up that point, to me, not all shows, not all art has great thought put into it. A lot of it is just people repeating an image or a story that they've heard before. I think this show had a lot of thought put into it. I think the things I'm noticing is not just me creating this out of thin air or noticing coincidences. I think these writers put a tremendous amount of thought and care into how the themes of this show, the aesthetic of this show, everything has a lot of thought and preparation put into it. But I'll just wrap that up saying that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree at all. I think they definitely, this is a labor of love. Not just this episode. This episode, absolutely, but the show as a whole is a labor of love. You can tell the people that were creating it really did love Deep Space Nine and Star Trek as a whole, to a point, unless it's Klingons. But that's a different story. They didn't love the Klingons so much. The thing I got out of I thought it was interesting in this, because in TNG, anything that was mystical or spiritual was kind of dismissed.
Correct. Which is
that doesn't make any sense.
A harsh Roddenberry rule.
Yes, it's very dismissive of anything remotely metaphysical. And in this, straight up magic reading his paw. Yes. So just, you've strong paw. This and Sisko doesn't dismiss it, which, like, I mean, Starfleet wouldn't necessarily dismiss something like that, but as brusque as Sisko has been, he doesn't push back against that too much, other than like, I don't see how this helps, right? I need you to unite your people so that your government doesn't fall apart, so my job doesn't suck. That's what he's there to do. And she tells him this stuff, and he kind of like, oh, okay. But he doesn't tell her, one second. When receiving the news that he's the emissary and having his ear grabbed rather strongly, it looks like he's in pain there, he doesn't push back on it. He doesn't dismiss that spirituality. And I think that tells us something about Sisko's character as well as something about the show.
Well, you make an excellent point that this show kind of leaves behind. It doesn't leave behind. Maybe it does. Maybe it does just leave behind the humanist elements of
I don't think
TOS
it does.
and TNG. I mean, they never give a rational explanation for the prophets. There's no like, oh,
they're aliens. They're wormhole aliens.
That's about as
That's what they
rational
call
as you
them.
get. They're supernatural beings that we have no understanding of, and they never.
I mean,
give
so
you...
is Q. Q's a god, basically. So, and there's one episode where Q implies that he is capital G God. He implies it.
But
He doesn't say it.
There's
but
still an element, because Roddenberry loved doing God episodes. Because that's the thing, is Roddenberry was saying, oh, there's just a rational explanation. If God's real, then there's just a rational explanation that he's just an alien like us, except they've just evolved differently.
Yeah,
I don't think this show gives like a rational explanation to the prophets that way.
This show leaves the door open to spirituality, and this is, I think, one of the influences of Babylon 5 on the show. Babylon 5 does the same kind of thing. A lot of the humans in Babylon 5 are very rational. There's a lot of there's not necessarily dismissiveness for spirituality, but it's like, oh, I don't have time for that. But there's also a very strong spiritual component throughout all of Babylon 5 that is never dismissed. It's never, oh, well, there's a logical explanation for all this. It's just kind of there, and they just leave it alone. And Deep Space Nine does the same thing. And honestly, I think it's a good choice. I don't think you need to explain everything. It's okay to let your universe have a little bit of non-technological magic.
A little mystery, a little less history, a little more mystery.
Exactly.
I'll get to the next.
Yeah, so...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to go... I have the same thing that you're reading.
Oh, you want to read the next
I was just going to read off the next one. Well, I figured people might go to sleep if they don't...
Well,
our voices
when
don't
we do the
switch
next
off.
episode, you're going to host it. And I think we'll go back and forth after that.
That's fine with me. That's fine. All right. Matt's just telling me he's the boss. That's why my name's first. You save the most important person for last. He makes way more money on the show than I do.
It's a 20-80 split on the revenue.
Exactly. What's 20% or nothing? Let me see. Double up the nothing and the nothing. That's nothing. Yeah. So
Act 3.
Well, Jadzia Dax shows up, his old mentor in a new trill body. They study the orb and trace the energy it has back to the nearby Denorius belt, which is unexplained. It's like, oh, there's an asteroid belt and it has weird plasma emanations from it. And meanwhile, the Cardassians show up, and it's Gul Dukat in one of those awesome looking Galore class warships. Can we just talk about how good the Cardassian ships look? They have a theme, they stick to it, and they look great.
It looks kind of aquatic, like a fish or something.
It's like a ray. It looks like a ray.
Yeah.
It's I believe it was actually inspired by some kind of ray or fish, but it looks like a fish. But if a fish was angry and had a giant phaser cannon instead of a mouth, And
where does Cardassian technology, because they are scared to death. There's like a fleet of them, and they're all scared to death of the Enterprise showing up. So are the Cardassians behind the Federation?
No, but a Galore class we see in TNG. This is actually Deep Space Nine paying attention to what's happened in the past. We see a Galore class ship, which they're not pushovers. They're pretty powerful ships, but they are smaller than a Galaxy class by a significant amount because the Galaxy class is stupid big and powerful. We see in one of the TNG episodes, a Galaxy class disables a Galore class warship with like a series of phaser blasts. And they're like, yeah, okay, we can keep fighting if you want to die, or we can talk. So a Galaxy class ship is terrifying. I would say that a Galore is probably somewhere between like a Miranda and an Excelsior.
Well,
like they're capable ships, but they're not.
Well, in TNG,
they're not TNG peak Federation stuff.
Well, in TNG,
the Cardassians have bigger ships to do.
They also show that they can read their transponder codes. So I think the Federation is more technologically advanced than.
I mean, there's some of that because from the way O'Brien talks about the station, I think the Cardassians may be a little bit behind. But like a lot of things where somebody's a little behind, they just spend more on their military, so they're still a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
Like the Cardassian, the read I got, the Cardassian Federation War ended because the Federation wanted to stop fighting. And the Cardassians couldn't keep fighting. If the Federation wanted to conquer Cardassia, if they were conquerors, they could do it. But they don't want to. Right?
I think that's a good
so you
interpretation.
Get the militarized zone.
The thing where I think if you had a political Star Trek show, it'd be interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so Gul Dukat comes in, and Sisko invites him aboard because he's Sisko, and they can't really do anything anyway because the station's basically defenseless. And so there's a brief exchange between Sisko and Dukat, and Dukat's talking about the office. And
that was his office.
It was his office. Yeah, he was the prefect. Is that the term?
I think remember. That's right. He basically was the governor over Bajor.
Yeah, and he ruled. His seat of power was Tarak Nor, which is now Deep Space Nine. The Cardassian name for the station was Tarak Nor. And so Sisko says, "Stop by anytime." Basically, because he can't stop him, but. Stop by any time, but without in a way that doesn't like, oh well, yeah, we'll do what you want. It's very much I'm in charge, but you're welcome to visit. This is my house now, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's Sisko and Dukat have Avery Brooks and what's his name again?
I've already forgotten.
Mark Alamo.
Yeah,
they have great chemistry together on screen. They really do. Which Sisko, Avery Brooks he struggles with chemistry with a lot of the other cast, but not with Mark Alamo. They do a great job together.
Gul Dukat is a totally fascinating character. He is a lot of depth. He's not just an evil being. I know he kind of turns into that at the end.
He's got a neck that goes on for about 3 meters. That guy's got the longest neck I've ever seen.
Yeah. Something that the AI didn't catch is that in this section is when the first time we see Dax and Bashir. They join the ship. The show is
and there's a great little thing where Bashir's like trying to get a date with Dax.
The show is so good at introducing characters. Like you immediately get the sense, okay, Bashir is a wannabe ladies man. Dax, there's more to her than meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you immediately get a quick sense of these people's characters, like the base of them. So there's a scene with Kira and Bashir where they're in the infirmary.
Oh, that was a good scene.
Yeah, so Bashir's like, "Oh, I'm on the front." Like he's seeing himself as like
frontier medicine.
He's
like the
Wild West,
like a missionary,
yes,
almost like out to treat the savages.
Yeah, and Kira gets upset at him and says this is her home.
Yeah, I live here.
Where is Deep Space Nine in relationship to Bajor? Because sometimes it seems like they're days away in some episodes, and other times it's like, okay, are they orbiting the planet? Like,
so Bajor is so they fly the station from Bajor to the wormhole's mouth in this episode. It's not that far. It just takes them on their thruster power, I think like a couple hours or something like that. It's not that long.
With a little bit of technobabble deleting
it's
gravity.
in their star system.
Okay.
It's in the Bajoran star system. Bajor is not inside the Federation.
Okay. That's right, because they want
the
them
reason they wanted to have Deep Space Nine be a Federation space station is so that there was a Federation presence in the Bajoran star system to act as a deterrent against Cardassians coming back.
So,
or another oppressor race coming in and taking advantage of the Bajorans' weakness, because they have no defenses. The Cardassians wrecked everything when they pulled out.
So Bajor is essentially Ukraine. In that
basically
they are like a Federation puppet, or like the way Ukraine's kind of a NATO puppet, again, as like a bulwark against Cardassians being Russia.
I guess.
Except
there's no I think
there's
Ukraine's
no NATO
a good
presence
allegory.
in Ukraine, I guess. So that's not a perfect allegory, I guess.
I would call it more like, I don't know, maybe I don't think there's not a perfect allegory, but it's the same idea as putting, the reason a country that is not necessarily allied with the United States lets the United States put a military base within their borders.
Right.
Because, hey, now we don't have to pay for our own defense as much. Yeah. Because there's going to be Starfleet ships visiting, and if somebody messes with a Federation space station, Starfleet's going to show up and they're going to take care of business. Because they're totally not a military.
Well, like we said in the previous episode, in my opinion, the Federation, I think even from the original series days, is always supposed to be the United States in the future, essentially.
I mean, all the ships are USS, so.
So you get the scene with O'Brien leaving the Enterprise, which hit me right in the feels.
That was a good scene. They did it very well, and it didn't feel contrived. And it was also, it's not just a farewell to the Enterprise from O'Brien's, it's also kind of a little like beginning farewell to TNG, because they knew TNG was over, because they knew, I think the final season had been announced. I think they knew that season 7 was going to be the last season when this aired. So that this is just the start of that farewell. Right?
The editing is perfect, because it's like, here's the safety of the Enterprise, and we're saying goodbye to the warm, comfy Enterprise, and immediately you meet the Gul Dukat, immediately the danger. This is not the next generation, buddy. This is a new adventure.
And unfortunately, you had to bring Keiko with you.
Yeah. So next we get Sisko and Dax take a runabout to the... how do you say that word?
Denorius Belt.
Denorius Belt.
And the reason they take a runabout over to the Denorius Belt is because they're detecting like some energy fluctuations that are like unto what they read out of the orb, because Sisko got an orb, like the most precious religious artifact they have. They just handed it to Sisko, which is wild to me, except that they like, you're the emissary, so you should have this anyway. Which later on, this causes problems on Bajor. It does.
So they say that the Cardassians have all the other orbs. Does that come up again? I don't.
Yes, they have other orbs. I think there are some where they're trying to get some of the orbs back from Cardassia, buy them, barter them, steal them, stuff like that. I think the one they have, what was this? Was this the orb of memory or something? I don't remember if they gave it a name. They give them names. Like there's like the orb of time, there's the orb of this, there's the orb of that, of what the Bajorans call it, just because of what they do when you touch them.
So this is when they discover the first stable wormhole.
the worm what? So
English.
The wormhole is not what wormholes look like. Obviously, we kind of understand what a wormhole would look like today. It looks awesome, even today. The blue and the yellow and the white blossoming out like some kind of giant space flower, and that holds up really well. I think the weakest, not necessarily the weakest part of the episode, but the part that struggled to keep my attention when I was a kid, was when they're in the wormhole and they're talking and they're under the influence of the prophets and all the weirdness happens and you don't know what's going on. And I'm like, okay, but why?
That's so
but
funny
why?
that you say that. So that was my question. So they go into the wormhole, okay, and so we start this scene, and it's very I might use that word again. It's kind of an esoteric scene. It's long, and they cut back and forth between Cisco and the wormhole, and then these external threats outside the wormhole between the Cardassians. And Cisco,
I'm talking about the initial thing where they're inside the wormhole, just Dax and Cisco. The wormhole aliens, I don't know, magic a planet up, and the runabout lands. They step outside, and they're seeing different things.
Right. Do they show what Dax is seeing? I don't remember.
Dax is seeing like a beautiful, idyllic forest.
Okay.
And Cisco is seeing like the just a rocky, jagged hellscape.
Right. It shows their feelings.
And
at the time.
think, yeah, that's what it is. Because Cisco, you get it later when they're like, you exist here. That whole thing that the prophets tell Cisco, but it's just kind of weird it was so weird to me, when I was a kid, and it was easier to watch this time, but I remember kind of bouncing off of that when I watched it the first time, that whole sequence, which was interesting. And like, I didn't bounce off it this time, but I think that might be some of the most difficult parts of the show to approach, is when you start really dealing with the metaphysical stuff inside the wormhole.
Well, that was my question, is that whole sequence of scenes where Cisco's in the wormhole and he is having flashback memories, and the prophets are speaking to him through people he knows through these flashbacks, and then he's trying to explain our plane of existence to these creatures, and the fact that they don't understand cause and effect and time. And
we're going ahead a little bit, right?
Well, my question is, do you like, because this is like a kind of controversial thing, is a lot of Star Trek fans don't like that scenes. I'll just say I love them. I was just wondering what you think of that whole, because like you said,
like the bits in Act 5 where he's trying to explain like time and how he exists as a linear being to beings that literally exist outside of time, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So not just the explanation. Do you like this entire sequence of Cisco inside the wormhole? Because it's very different than most Star Trek.
I didn't at first, but this time watching it through, I liked it a lot more. And it was interesting to see him trying to explain a mortal existence to alleged immortal beings, right? And the disconnect of, well, I don't understand. And they're like, well, you heard us when you come through here. And he's like, I don't know what you are. Right. I don't know where you are. We didn't know you were here. How could you not know you're here? No, I didn't know before. What is before? Excuse me?
Right.
What is the color purple? Yeah. It's just, and how he deals with that was really interesting.
Yeah, he tries to explain cause and effect through baseball.
I thought that was pretty cool. He starts getting into it and he goes, you know what? The rules aren't important. The rules aren't important. Let's talk about, this is predicated on not knowing what the outcome will be. And that's why it happens. And that's why I, as a linear being, don't know how to do things. And then it goes on to the whole you exist here thing, but I don't think we want to talk about that just yet. What does happen right after they land on that planet is Dax is kind of whisked away, thrown back in the runabout, spat out of the wormhole, and the wormhole just shuts.
Yeah. The orb takes her back to the
yes,
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, she gets sucked up into an orb. They beam it back onto the station, and then it turns back into Dax. And I don't know what happened. And then the Cardassians, of course, have seen all this, and they rush over to the wormhole because they're going, hey, I want that,
So last act, mysterious alien entities, the prophets, and Dax back. Okay, we just talked about that. Gul Dukat not wanting to be outdone flies his Cardassian warship right to the wormhole. We just talked about that. The wormhole violently collapses and vanishes. And this is the end of, I guess, what you would call episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
So this is the really, this is like part 1, but this is about 2/3 of the way through the episode too, when you're looking at this part of it, because the next part, it all happens very quickly. The second kind of part.
That's so funny that my note here, the rest of the episode kind of blazes by for me. I'm literally reading my note right here.
Yeah.
It's
a lot happens.
It's less dense
really
and more
fast.
technobabble stuff.
Yeah. The second part, it gets a lot more Star Trek-y.
Yes.
I will say.
Yes. Well, it's both. It's the Cisco stuff, which is not Star Trek-y. And then the stuff outside of that is like the most Star Trek, just basic copy and paste technobabble plot you will get from anything.
I will say I love O'Brien fighting with the computer to get it to do what he wants.
He literally kicks it, right?
He kicks it and it does. Yeah, he just a computer. It's just. Oh man, it was awesome. I love that scene, and I think one of the reasons I like the O'Brien episodes is because he always has that love-hate relationship with the station. He loves his job, but he hates how poorly the station is maintained and how it works. He doesn't understand why the Cardassians do things the way they did, and hates everything about it, and is constantly trying to fix it.
So, like we said, the wormhole closes. Cisco's missing. Dukat is missing. Major Kira is now in command. The Deep Space Nine is not up and running yet. They have basically almost no defense capabilities. Do they even have shields? I don't remember.
Their shields are what shields, I believe, is what was said. But the shield emitters they exist, but they're not online. They have phasers, and they have a total of 6 photon torpedoes.
So we immediately get like the show is going back and forth between Cisco inside the wormhole and outside the wormhole. You have Kira basically getting Deep Space Nine moved over to the wormhole because they're starting to fight with the Cardassians.
Well, they want to stake a claim, right? So they're moving the station to the wormhole to be like, look, Bajor and the Federation are staking a claim on this wormhole because it's in Bajoran space, so the Cardassians don't come back and go, this is our wormhole now. And because
the Cardassians at first don't even kind of believe the ones outside the wormhole. Don't they kind of think that they think that someone
Kira destroyed them? Yeah, they think their ship was destroyed, which is kind of silly when you think about it, because when you think about what those ships are made out of and what they run on, if an antimatter explosion went off and these ships show up a few hours later, you would know. Right. You would know that an antimatter explosion happened. You would see debris, you would see all sorts of stuff. But for the purposes of the episode, they are suspicious, and also it's because, Kira doesn't really help. We see in this that diplomacy is not her strong suit. She's good at bluffing. She's good at badgering. She's good at getting her way, but smoothing things over? Why?
I do like.
How can we fight them? Her first reach is, how do we fight them? How do we get the upper hand?
To be fair, I think she has experience dealing with Cardassians.
Yes, there is that.
Diplomacy's not the answer. I think she is shown as extremely capable in this episode.
Oh no, I'm not saying she was making mistakes. I was just commenting on. You see that she doesn't reach for the diplomacy toolkit.
Right.
Ever. She's like, well, my diplomacy is a photon torpedo, It's like I love this. Fire 6 photon torpedoes off their bow. We only have 6. They don't know that. Why would we fire only 6? And they do some techno babble to make the station pretend like it's got 900 photon torpedoes or something like that, which is more than enough to vaporize those 3 warships. Unfortunately, the shields are made out of tissue paper.
Right. So inside the wormhole, Cisco's debating the prophets. I always thought the prophets would be like immediately like, oh, these like generous beings, but really they're at such non-understanding. So Cisco's trying to explain time to them, the concepts of actions and reactions, and the prophets are kind of saying, well, if time is this linear thing for you, why are you stuck on this moment of trauma? Because he keeps having flashback. They're talking to him through his dead wife, because this is like the most powerful thing in his mind, and
they keep bringing him back to the moment that he finds her dead on the Saratoga, and he keeps asking them, why do you keep bringing me back here? I don't want to be here.
And they're saying, you're bringing us back here, we're not doing.
You exist here. I don't want to exist here. You exist here.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
As a viewer, you're like, well, yeah, they're non-linear beings. He exists everywhere to them at the same time. And then you realize that they're saying, no, this is where you exist you are choosing to be in this point of your timeline.
Yes. The reality you make
this
in
is
your
where
mind,
you are,
which makes you who you are stuck here in this traumatic event. And eventually Cisco comes like through, after all this pain of reliving it like over and over, he kind of comes to this realization that they're right. I'm stuck here. And I mean, we're getting ahead of a little bit, but that is when he finally escapes the wormhole. But
well, I mean, this whole thing moves so fast that we can almost talk about all these different acts as one thing, because it all kind of blends together. It's just a boom, 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 boom.
So eventually,
as you watch,
a bunch of Cardassian warships arrive. They're demanding Dukat. They say on the crew on the Deep Space Nine says that they're being unreasonable. No, I'm sorry, I got that backward. They're saying Dukat is unreasonable by going into the wormhole. To me,
no, I don't think so.
I think it's reasonable.
He just saw a Federation ship go in there. Why would he not go?
Right, that's perfectly reasonable.
Like, of course he would go.
They're saying like, "Oh, you might be destroyed." It's like that's his choice. Like, why?
So to be fair, like they spat the runabout back out and stole one of their people, and they're like, "Will you listen to us for a second?" I wonder if it would have gone differently if the folks on the station were like, no, don't go in. We're missing someone from the ship we just sent through. We don't think it's safe. Please wait. I think if Picard were in charge, right, to take the different thing, if this was TNG, the Enterprise would be like, hold on, we'll send a probe together. And I'll invite you aboard my ship, and you can watch all of the telemetry as it comes in, and then they would find out that it's either safe or unsafe, or whatever, and then it's all a happy Roddenberry ending. This one, it's not. We can't have that, because this show is about conflict.
Right.
TNG is about harmony. DS9 is about conflict.
Yep.
And so the conflict has to happen. So the characters sometimes just act unreasonable. And this time it's the heroes going, well, I don't know, you're just going. You could have given him more information, maybe.
Yeah.
But they don't want to trust each other. I don't think they wanted to tell him that Cisco was missing, because, the commander's missing. Oh, you're even weaker than I thought you were. All that kind of interplay is going on there. They're like, no, don't go in. And he just charged right in. And the reason it was dangerous for him is because the wormhole aliens are already angry, because the way the wormhole is at this point, flying through it, the way the ships move, if they move too fast, it damages like whatever the membrane that the prophet aliens live in, and it can hurt them. It harms them. And so Gul Dukat's blasting through at full impulse, and so they disable his ship and shut the wormhole. Nope. Wormhole's closed for business. No, thank you. We don't want any more of your your linear existences, because your warp drives give us a headache, and I don't want any more headaches today. Thank you very much.
2D beings only, please.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, something that is so funny about Star Trek, and I know it's a symptom of it being a TV show and you want the main characters on screen, but imagine if the U.S. Navy had a mission where they needed to catch Somalian pirates, And so they sent the fleet admiral on the away mission.
Or the captain of the ship goes. Yeah, no, it's
so yeah. We need to explore the wormhole. Let's send the county governor.
Realistically, it would be Dax and random crewman number 3.
Yeah.
You know, like those two, and then a whole science team on the run. That was the weirdest thing to me, that it just sent 2 people. Federation, a science thing. There's gonna be like 30 people on that runabout.
Yeah.
With every scientific instrument that they can carry.
Yeah.
They'll put like a backpack thing on top of it, you know, all sorts of stuff. So again, some of the things have to step to the side for the story to happen. And that's okay sometimes.
You want to read
that is a flaw, but
you want to read Act 4 or Act 3 and Act 4. I don't even have notes for Act 3.
Yeah. So basically what happens for 3 and 4. So 3, it says the standoff escalates as the Cardassians threaten to blow DS9 out of the sky. Inside the wormhole, Sisko has a profound emotional breakthrough. We talked about this. Oh, I exist here. He hasn't moved on, trapped by his grief. He learned what it means to be human. The prophets agree to allow safe passage through the domain. But that whole this very powerful scene where he's trapped in the memory of the Saratoga as it's being destroyed, surrounded by a specter of his wife standing in front of his dead wife. Specter of his wife, the captain of the Saratoga, several other crew members there, and Jake all standing around him, telling him he exists here. And then he understands what they're saying, and you hear it in his voice. His voice breaks. He goes, "I exist here." And it's just so painful. And, you know, as someone who's married with children, I cannot fathom how awful it would be to run across my wife dead. And then again, not being able to then care for her body, just have to leave it to be vaporized by the Borg or whatever, and then be a single dad.
Or assimilated, even worse.
I cannot imagine how bad that must hurt, but I can put myself into it a little bit, and I don't like it at all. And the amount of pain we see Sisko in is exactly right, I think. I think it's exactly right.
It is a strange human failing that when we experience trauma, for some reason, we seek to recreate it. I don't know what is about human existence and human behavior, but anything traumatic that happens to us, we all, like almost all humans in some way, relive them, not just relive the memory. Some people will try to reenact the trauma on others, which is a disgusting thing, but we're right. If we have a traumatic event, so many of us try to live in that moment. And so, you know, like I talked about earlier, Sisko doesn't want to move forward in linear time anymore. He doesn't want to be in Starfleet. He wants to leave.
He died on that ship. In a way.
Yeah.
The person he was died when he found his wife's body.
And this experience with the prophets makes him realize, I can't live in this moment. Like, life is dangerous. Trying to accomplish these great things is dangerous, and I'm going to get back on the timeline. I'm going to start moving forward again. And that's when we get back to the second scene with Picard. And like we said earlier, Picard is kind of the face of this threat, of this danger to him. And he says, he's kind of like, bring it on.
Yeah. The climax of this episode was great because we get this huge emotional journey with Sisko while we're still getting classic Star Trek gobbledygook and combat happening outside of the station, because Kira is bluffing the Cardassians. Oh yeah, the station, they do some technobabble and mask everything, and then they drop the masking, and they've done something to make it seem like the station is just full to the brim with photon torpedoes. O'Brien does some crazy stuff to the phaser. It's like just pumps a bunch of extra power through the phaser arrays to give the phasers a hit. They'll just ring the bell of the Cardassians, hoping that, like, we'll just whack them real hard so they don't, totally backfires because Kardashian's like, oh, well, we'll shoot you then. oh, it's a fight. We're gonna fight. And Kira is about to surrender, which is there's a journey there too. That's a big moment for her because she was like, we'll fight to the end. I know how Kardashians treat her prisoners, and O'Brien's like, no, I think O'Brien says, I know how Kardashians treat their prisoners, because I was at Setlick 3, which that's the whole backstory for the Wounded. O'Brien, basically, he didn't want to be what he is. I don't remember what he wanted to be, but he was going to be something else, and the Cardassian War turned him into a soldier, and he had to do horrible things to survive, because war does that to people. And that was the Wounded. The Wounded kind of explains that. And it explores that a little bit in Deep Space Nine as well. But you can hear that he's willing to just die on that station rather than be captured by Cardassians. He is behind Kira 100%. Right. Absolutely. I would rather have everyone on the station die than we surrender to the Cardassians. And Kira is living that out. She's going to get her wish pretty quick. And then she realizes, wait, no, everyone on the station's going to die. There's, I don't know, we'll call it maybe 1,000 people on the station. I don't know how. It's a big station. I don't know if we ever get numbers for how many people live on the station, but there's a lot of people on that station.
Yeah, she kind of has to come to terms with that. She's not just a terrorist leader.
She has responsibilities. She has responsibilities to other people beyond herself, and her goal isn't hurt Cardassians. Her goal is take care of these people under my command. And so she is about to surrender. And then the wormhole opens and Sisko comes out towing a Galore-class warship like, hey guys, what happened? Yeah. Did something happen? What's wrong? Can we just talk about how runabouts are just maybe the most terrifying ship in Starfleet? They do everything. Yeah. They're everywhere. They can do anything. Right?
They have plot armor.
Yeah. But yeah, so the runabout comes out towing Gul Dukat's ship. And so the Cardassians no longer have a reason to fight the station because the whole premise was, oh, well, you killed one of ours, so we're going to kill you. Oh, you saved one of ours. Oh, okay. So they stop firing. They back off. And the Cardassians are like, okay, well, we're not going to fight anymore. And then now it's just the ending act, right? And that whole thing was just done really well. Nothing felt like super contrived. I mean, the timing, I guess, but the timing's a little contrived. But it's a story. Yeah. It's drama. It has to be dramatic. It worked. It worked. I didn't mind it.
The bomb has to stop at 1 second, not 28 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. It can't stop at 47 seconds. Yeah. It's fine. And at the end of it, we get the setup that, okay, so now there is a wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant, previously inaccessible by manned starflight because they would send warp probes out there that would then transmit back. So they know a little bit about it, but not too much. But now they can just go there, and it's all unexplored space from the Federation's perspective, which means there's a huge amount of trade that's going to come through, exploration. It's good. The Deep Space Nine is no longer a backwater outpost. It's the front porch now.
Right.
This is now where things happen. This isn't Cowboy Town anymore. Except that it's still a cowboy town. It's still a cowboy town, but it's also Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And they talk about how that's going to happen. And then you get the payoff conversation between Sisko and Picard. Because in the first one, he's like, hey, you might want to start looking for my replacement. He told the Picard to start looking for his replacement in the very beginning of the episode, saying, hey, I don't really want this. And Sisko tells Picard this, hey, about my replacement. And Picard goes, well, I haven't gotten around to it yet, and Sisko goes, I would appreciate it if you forgot that I said anything about it. He's like, are you sure? Yeah. This is where I belong. I exist here now. He found, like it says in the thing, he's found his purpose. And his purpose is to move forward at this point.
Yes. Well put.
He doesn't have like I mean, obviously he's a father. And honestly, Sisko is a very, in this whole show, Sisko is a very good father to Jake. I think it's a great example of how to be a father in a lot of ways. You can learn a lot about fatherhood from Deep Space Nine.
You talk about the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah.
The first season has a lot of Gamma Quadrant stuff. And I want to say there's some in the second and maybe some of the third, but I feel like as the show went on, they're like, it's just a war with the Dominion, and like the exploration of the Dominion Gamma Quadrant is the Gamma Quadrant. Ends.
Well, it would if you go to the Gamma Quadrant and the Dominion, the Dominion is like 5 times the size of the Federation. It's more powerful. It's more technologically advanced in some ways. And they have magic changelings that can just infiltrate people. It is a terrifying, terrifying empire to deal with. And they've decided that they're going to declare war on you. You are not going to explore in the Gamma Quadrant if there's a war on. It's not going to happen.
Right. I'm just saying the nature of the show kind of changes.
Yeah, but it has to. It has to change if you're going to do a war story.
Well, that's what I mean. You don't have to do a war story. Is my thing, but they
didn't have to, but they did, because before Deep Space Nine, we didn't really do war stories. We had war episodes a little bit, and we had just avoiding a war. But Deep Space Nine is the first time when we see what does the Federation look like when it goes to a war footing. It's a little ridiculous because they copy paste a bunch of starships and they fly them way too close together, but it is pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. It's gonna be interesting to get there and talk about some of those.
We'll see if my mind changes, but my memory is that I enjoyed the first seasons more than the later seasons. Just I think because of the format, because of that I think I enjoyed every episode being like this exploration of something new versus just every episode being this serialized story.
Step. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna get to the questions. We might come up with different questions as we do each episode, but these are questions we're going to ask every episode. First one is, was there a singular ethical dilemma that defined the episode? So I'll go first. What I wrote is the risk of our mortality and our connection to society worth risking to reach towards greatness, to reach towards the stars? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth making the deal with the devil to accomplish something great? Which I think this episode says yes, it's worth doing something dangerous to accomplish something.
I can see that.
You don't just stay home, and nothing great accomplishes by someone that just stayed home.
Yeah, I can agree with that. To me, the only thing that really kind of stood out to me, like I didn't fixate on any of the ethical stuff because I didn't read these before I watched. I just watched and then read this after these questions. So what kind of stood out to me was just like, should we hang on to our past? Not necessarily like, I'm not talking Star Wars, you have to kill the past to move forward, but like that it is harmful to hold on too tightly to the past, especially if it's painful.
Yeah.
Is kind of what stood out to me with that. And I mean, he kind of hits you over the head with that. But you get that theme repeats a little bit, that dilemma, because with Kira, she has a similar moment. And then it touches with O'Brien talking about Setlik 3. That little theme kind of plick, 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 plick. It just they kind of flick on that. Hey, the past, you have to be able to move past the past.
Well, that's kind of the great thing about sci-fi is that it takes an allegory, or what's the word I want to use? It takes like an allegory and it makes it literal. So Sisko is living in the past and his life's not moving forward. And with science, the beauty of fiction is that they show it literally. Time's not moving. Like you say, we don't experience time. You don't experience time. You're stuck in this one moment of your life.
Yeah.
It makes it a literal thing, which is why shows like this can be really good. If you had to delete one scene, this whole show, so this is a feature-length episode, by the way. It's, I think, over an hour and a half long.
This is the easiest question on here. This is the easiest.
I had a hard time with this, but you go ahead.
Nog and the other alien robbing the store. It's unnecessary.
Okay, that is a great answer.
It's completely unnecessary. Like, I understand why they put it in, because they wanted to set up for the thing, but all they had to do is Odo, page up to Commander Sisko. Quark's in here and he wants his blah, blah, blah. He's making a stink and I need to get him out of my thing. Blah, blah, blah. I need a Federation, and explain. And then Sisko just blackmails him. Hey, if you want him back, blah, blah, blah. You didn't need that like 2-minute scene of them robbing the store and running out and look, we're hooligans. And I mean, it introduces Nog, but I don't think they name him. I don't think they name him in this episode.
No, they say Nog because he says Nog's his nephew.
Is it? Okay.
But
yeah, so I don't think you need that scene in there. If I have to delete a scene, that's the one.
For me, I could not pick. There's no like single scene that really stood out to me as bad. Really, just the whole.
It's not bad. It's just that's the one it doesn't need.
Right. Really, the whole Cardassian threat stuff while Sisko's in the wormhole, I just don't find all that interesting. I mean, you could cut that all. I could, if I watch this episode again, I would literally just like fast forward through each one of those if I were to watch this.
I guess it does. It doesn't add to the A plot, but it is the Cardassians are the B plot, right? So
yeah, I'm not saying like, oh, they should. That's bad. They shouldn't have had that. It is a necessary part of the story. Just I don't know if I was gonna.
But you could. The story could exist without that B plot.
I'm not
could
even
exist
saying
and
that.
It could be all right.
I'm just kind of saying that's probably my least favorite part of the episode.
And so yeah, I mean, and see, to me, I think that also we need to define what each of us thinks of as a scene. For me, a scene is a thing that happens in a short amount of time.
You're correct.
This setting, right? That is what I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I say the same thing. I'm just saying I can't think of a specific scene in particular.
No.
But the way you're defining a scene, you're correct. I agree with that.
Yeah. So this next question was harder for me, and I would like to posit an alternative way to say it, because it said if the question you wrote is if you could only keep one scene and delete everything else, which would it be? That would destroy the story. If there's only one scene, 2 to 5 minute clip, I'm not going to do that.
You could word that differently. What I'm just saying is like, what's your favorite scene, essentially?
What's my favorite scene? Right. So that's how I answered it. And how I answered my favorite scene is I have two, but I think the one that edges out the most is that climax scene of I Exist Here, of Sisko reaching understanding and realizing that he hasn't moved past his wife's death and that he has been doing this to himself.
Yes. That's
and
my
that
number one also.
he recognizes that he died on that ship, and he needs to come back for his son and come back for everything else. My second favorite scene is that first Sisko Picard talk is just great. It's extremely well done. And I think they did a great job. And it's hard to pick out a really favorite one because there's a lot of good stuff in here, but those are my top two.
You have the same. I thought of three, so I put everything in the wormhole. I like is probably my favorite. Which is funny that we both agree on that because I've heard other DS9 podcasts and a lot of people don't like the wormhole stuff.
Well, I'm looking at the camera right now, and so we have a camera up when we're recording these virtually because my kids have been sick, so we didn't want Matt to get sick. Matt has a gigantic head, and inside that gigantic head is a gigantic brain. And because Matt have big brain and I have big brain, we can like things like the wormhole stuff.
Yes.
Even though there's no phasers or photon torpedoes in the wormhole.
Chris's fancy way of saying people that don't like it are stupid.
I didn't say that. Matt said that. Matt thinks all of you are stupid. Matt's the one going, esoteric. I like esoteric things.
The one you did, I also Picard I had. The one you didn't mention is that whole opening on Wolf 359.
It is great. It's fantastic.
This opening of the show just punches you right in the face. It's so good. So another thing we're going to have every episode, this one I know we're going to keep on the senior. This is capitalized, but everything on this is capital, by the way, capitalized. Proper noun. On the senior chief petty officer Miles Edward O'Brien's scale of torture, how badly was O'Brien tortured in this episode on a scale of 1 to 4 lights? I put this as 1.98 lights. So 1 to 4 lights, by the way, for people. TNG is
there are 4 lights.
Yes. Maybe I think I put that on. I think I was thinking out of 5. Let me change that. Because I might make a spreadsheet.
1 to 4 lights.
I'll make a spreadsheet with these at the end of at some point, and we'll go through and we have like 100 an average each episode in the spreadsheet. But no.
So why 1.98?
I'll change that. 0.98.
0.98.
Leaving the Enterprise is torture in and of itself. Okay.
Right. The carpets.
And he was very close to being tortured by the Cardassians. I almost said tortured by the Enterprise. He's very close to being tortured by the Cardassians, but otherwise in this episode he was fine.
I put, you said scale of 1 to 4, so I put 1. If it was 0 to 4, I would put it less than 1.
I just like doing goofy numbers. I'm just a goofy guy.
My note was 1. Not a lot of suffering in this episode. He did suffer. O'Brien always suffers because O'Brien must suffer.
Yes.
This is the rule of the Star Trek universe. And he had to relive the memories of Setlik 3 a little bit. And the station really did not want to do what he wanted, and it was making him so upset. So not a lot of suffering, but there was some suffering in there.
I think it's a season 1 episode that I'm remembering where he's like not getting sleep or something, and then the whole like ship is not getting sleep. Do you remember this? And he's like can't fix things. And he's really mad at all the time because things keep breaking, and he's not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Is this episode so properly defined as science fiction? Meaning the plot driven by technology. Well, you can hear my ringtone maybe. Sorry about that.
Absolutely.
Let me put my phone on.
Put your phone on silent. We're professionals.
Total Star Trek nerds. My ringtones. What? Is that your phone that I heard?
No, that's you. Mine's completely silent.
Oh, it's because my Ring app goes through the do not disturb. Anyways, and my Ring, which is probably just going to make no sense because I'm going to guess that when I edit this, it's going to cut out that noise. But my ringtone for years and years has been the TNG door chime. So we talked about in episode 0 what we kind of defined as science fiction, that science fiction is a form of fiction that requires technology to drive the plot. So Star Wars generally by the general public is considered science fiction. I don't think by our definition it's strictly science fiction, because Star Wars, you can change the setting and have the plot points, the narrative be exactly the same. So in this episode, the Emissary, or no, it's just Emissary, do you think this plot requires technology for the narrative to move forward?
It's tricky. I think a cautious yes. The majority of it, I think, could be done without technology. Like if you replace the wormhole with like a temple and some mysterious gods and stuff like that. But there's enough of, like, you can't move a town over to, like, move the town to there was a new river path through somewhere that gets to the other side of you can't move a whole town over. You know, you can't, I I don't know. There's just enough of a technological aspect to the story to where you need that technology for the story to kind of make enough sense without losing too much of it. I think you could tell this story without technology, but it would be different enough that I don't know that you would recognize it as the episode.
Well, I hope you guys don't. I hope the listeners aren't looking for a debate show, because once again, we basically agree. I wrote barely. The episode is mostly defined by the supernatural. I think you could, for the most part, do this story in a fantasy setting where instead of a mirror, a wormhole in space, it could be a mirror that opens into another plane.
Yeah, I guess you could do something like that.
But the nature of the universe of Star Trek gives us an interesting setting to tell this story, because like we were talking about, the idea that the idea that Cisco is stuck in the past, this universe of Star Trek gives you a physical way to show him literally stuck in the past, literally reliving his past. And that's the kind of cool thing about the science fiction kind of setting, is it lets you do it in an interesting visual way that maybe you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So we're going to wrap up here. Overall score on this episode, 1 to 5. And you can do fraction, goofy numbers like I like to do. Maybe a 2.78. And should we define, I want to say, like, I think an okay episode is like a 2.5, okay? Or like...
Yeah, so middle of the road is, average episode is 2.5. That's what I think. Or actually, no, I would say 3, because that's the middle of 1 through 5.
Right.
So I would say average episode is a 3.
And because a lot of people...
Above average...
Well, you know, you see reviews online. Sorry to interrupt you. You see reviews online and people are like, oh, if it's not 4.5, it just must be trash.
That's because people don't understand how rating is supposed to work.
Yeah, so we're going to try to actually rate this on an honest scale, where if something is good and okay, it can be a 3, and that doesn't mean it sucks. Or I should say a 2 doesn't mean it's trash. Okay.
Yeah. But if you want to argue with us, you can always email Matt and tell him about it. And we will read your hate mail live to no one, because nobody listens live to this. So, but we can talk about
at
other people's
hotmail.com.
So I rated this myself. I wrote 4.5 is what I went with it. It's close to a 5. It's almost perfect. I had a few little nitpicks with some of the like the timing, like I just got it just in the nick of time, and some of the cast, like especially Terry Farrell, did not have a lot of chemistry with most of the cast in this, and that's because she showed up and met them the day she started filming, right? And it's not her fault. It's not anybody's fault. And also the characters don't act like the characters I know yet. And that's to be expected.
I'm nodding my head.
I might have even rated it higher if I had never seen it before. But I've seen the show before. And so just a few little tiny nitpicks. Yeah, we don't need to get into it. We've talked about the whole episode already. I don't have to tell exactly what the nitpicks were. But yeah, mostly to do with characters and some plot contrivances. And you can't get away from those. I don't know if I will ever rate anything out of a 5. I don't know.
You and me, I don't get it. Like, I'll read my notes here because it's exactly what you said. I said, I put 4 stars, and I'll just read it. Hard to hit 5 stars when you don't have a deeper connection to the characters. It's hard to tell a perfect story when you're introducing all these characters. it would be easier if this was, like we said, if this was a motion picture, you'd have a quarter of the amount of main characters that they introduce, and so it'd be easier to have a deeper connection to the characters and more story arc for each main character. It's a great episode. I loved this episode a lot. It's super entertaining. Like I said, the thing that keeps it from being a 5 for me is the stuff when if this was a movie, there wouldn't be an A and B story. You just stay with Cisco in the wormhole. You wouldn't be cutting back to this other thing over and over. I think
that's not necessarily true.
I think if this was a good movie, I don't think you'd keep cutting away from Cisco in the wormhole. I think you would just stay in there and resolve it.
There's not necessarily an A-B plot in a lot of movies, but a lot of times during the climax of a movie, you've got the climax is happening in 2 different places.
You're right, but I don't think that's good. Like that, to me, that's the worst part of like Return of the Jedi, is the continually cutting away from the stuff with the Emperor. To be fair, that the Emperor throne room scene is the best Star Wars. Yes.
That is the best scene. Like, Return of the Jedi is not as good of a movie as Empire Strikes Back, but that little bit of Vader, Luke, and the Emperor is peak Star Wars. Yes. Nothing else beats it.
Correct.
I don't know. There's some stuff in Andor that comes close. Andor's really good.
The scene, but we're just gonna have a little Star Wars chat here for a sec. But the scene where Luke is hiding in the shadows, and Vader's like, "Sister, you have a twin sister. If you won't turn, then maybe she will." And the music crescendos, and that's the best scene in Star Wars to me, is that moment.
Yeah, we agree there. But why we need to have somebody on here who disagrees with us, because we agree a lot.
Real quick, rank your Star Wars movies.
Sorry, go ahead. Rank my Star Wars movies?
Yeah, real quick.
My favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi.
Really?
Then Empire Strikes Back. Yes.
Interesting.
Then Empire Strikes Back. Then A New Hope.
It's hard to rank the prequels.
Rogue One.
Okay.
Phantom Menace.
Okay. Respect.
Then I'm going to go with Sith, then Solo, then Clones.
Yeah, Clones is the worst.
Then there are still more. I know you don't like to admit that they're Star Wars. There are still more. Then all that's left are the sequels, of which I think the best done movie of the sequels, despite a lot of flaws, is the Last Jedi. And then Force Awakens, and then the whatever they called the last one.
Is the Last Jedi the 9th
Rise
one?
of Skywalker. No, Last Jedi is the second to last one. The one that a lot of people hated.
Controversial. Okay.
Very controversial, and we could talk for an hour about why I don't like it. I don't like the movie. I thought it was a bad movie, but I appreciated that it tried to do something new, and I thought that while I didn't agree with Luke's character arc, I certainly thought it was an intriguing arc. And it wasn't just, hey, we're just going to copy paste the original trilogy characters into a different situation. The same situation. So that's why I think that's the strongest of the sequel movies. Force Awakens was just boring to me. I literally was waiting for the movie to end. And Rise of Skywalker is just a mess. It's just awful. They're trying to retcon too much stuff and squeeze all this. It doesn't matter. I don't care. This is a Star Trek podcast. If you want Star Wars, you're gonna have to go over, like we talked about brains earlier. This might not be the podcast for you if you want us to talk about Star Wars a lot.
well, I have to say mine real quick. So Empire Strikes Back's number 1, then A New Hope, then Return of the Jedi. Ooh, prequels. Man, I think you're right. I think
Phantom Menace is actually the best prequel.
It's got so much interesting stuff in it. It is a mess of a movie. Okay, the Plinkett reviews are spot on. But it's got so much interesting stuff. And then probably Revenge of the Sith, and then last would be the Clone Wars one. There was a summer where I think I watched The Empire Strikes Back I watched Return of the Jedi like every single night for a summer when I was a kid, wearing out a VHS tape. Keep that in mind, okay? I have never seen the 8th and 9th Star Wars movies. Never saw them. Not even seen. Never. You might not hear it, but Chris
you're
is
smarter than
laughing.
me.
And I'm not.
You're smarter than me.
Seriously, this whole summer watching the same movie, and I've never bothered to even. I watched the first J.J. Abrams one, and I was like, "That's enough. I've had enough Star Wars for my life," and I've never watched any of the other ones.
I did not pay to see the second two. I saw The Last Jedi in a theater, but only because I was on a cruise ship and it was free.
Yeah,
or rather included with the. So I was like, "Oh, I'll go watch this." And I remember sitting next to Leela. Leela's my wife. Sitting next to my wife, and we're kind of looking at each other like, that wasn't very good. Like, this wasn't very good. That was not good at all. And then, I don't think she's watched the 9th one. I have Disney Plus, so at one point I watched it in like 20-minute segments, and my gosh, is it bad.
The original Star Wars movies are fun. They're very good fantasy. The aesthetic, the look, the design of the artwork that went into those original movies is so phenomenal, and the special effects, all the work has aged so well. Try to watch the unedited versions if you can. You can get them on the internet. They're out there. With that said, I will take a great Star Trek episode over Star Wars. There is something more intellectually pleasing to me about a great Star Trek episode than anything Star Wars can offer.
I would watch yesterday's Enterprise over any Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Like, do you want to watch yesterday's Enterprise or do you want to watch Return of the Jedi? You know, I do like Return of the Jedi, but yesterday's Enterprise is a great piece of fiction.
The Drumhead,
oh yeah,
so many great TNG episodes.
I have one suggestion for future podcasts. I'm going to answer the question I'm going to pose. Because it's an easy one for this one. Who was the main character of this episode? Right, obviously it's Sisko here. Sisko's the main character of this episode, but that changes in Star Trek episodes. Who the main character is, and sometimes it's not easy to tell because there's a lot of A, B, and C stories in Star Trek. So
you're right. I forgot to put that in our show format. I'm sorry about that, but you're right. Though Sisko is definitely the main in this.
He's the main character. He's the kind of main character that doesn't forget that he's the main character. And I think that's why a lot of people like him. And I think that's why he's my least favorite captain.
I feel you.
And yeah. So I don't, like I said in the last episode, I don't necessarily dislike Sisko. I just like him less than the other captain. And when I say the captains, I mean the 5 that I like, not the stuff that has come out since. Although I will say that Anson Mount's Pike, it's a great blend of Kirk and Picard that he plays, and it's really good. And honestly, Matt, it's worth watching some of the good episodes of that just to give some good Star Trek feels to you, because it does give you some good old Star Trek feels on some of those episodes. So, but yeah, Deep Space Nine, awesome.
I am thinking back to like TNG episodes. You're right. There's like episodes where clearly Data is the lead. There's episodes where clearly like Worf is the lead.
Yeah, exactly. And Star Trek has always been like that. There's like in Voyager, most of my favorite episodes are actually 7 of 9 episodes, and it's not because I like watching her in a cat suit.
That would hurt. But
I would love those episodes if she was a robot box, or if she was still borged up. The exploration of humanity, of someone coming back to humanity after having been turned into a mindless drone, is so much fun and so interesting to watch, and I love it. And also I have a thing for powerful competent women, and she's a powerful competent woman, and I'm just never gonna not enjoy watching a show about that.
By the way, for those that want crazy trivia, the actress that plays her, Jerry Ryan, because of how she divorced her husband, that was a stepping stone of Barack Obama becoming our president. And I'm not joking. Look that up. So well,
So instead of saying thanks Obama, we can say thanks 7 of 9.
yes,
Perfect. I love it. All right, man.
I think we'll end on that now. This was a really good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I doubt it's going to be as good, but I recall liking the first season, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited for our first bad episode. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun when we get to a bad episode.
Yes, this episode, our recording here is going to be like 2 hours long. I'm gonna guess the bad episodes aren't gonna be so long. So
yeah, we might talk more about Star Wars in those
episodes.
All right. Until next time, we hope you enjoyed Chris and Matt talking about that.
Adios.